Hello, Tyler Cruz here, also known as Always Dizzy. I am here with my round 5 game report from the 2025 New Year's Open. So if you watched my previous round, you'll know that I finally got a win. Excuse me. So after losing all three, after losing all 3 games on the first day, finally got a win on the second day on round 4, and I was feeling good. It just felt good to get a win. I mean, it seemed like I never win in tournaments anymore. Like I never win a game. That's what it feels like. So it just felt good. And so this was round 5, the second round of the second day, and I was paired up against John David Moje. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Who I hadn't played before or seen or heard of, which seems to be true with like at least half my opponents these days. It seems like every round I always get a new opponent I've never played before. He was rated 16-15. So let's just jump right in. I was black. He played e4. And I played c5. Knight f3, d6, bishop b5. Bleh. So I hate this. Like I hate this this opening. This is the Moscow variation of the Sicilian. It just seems so cowardly to me from White. White isn't ambitious, and White isn't really going for anything aggressive, or not even aggressive, but like trying to get some type of edge, because this is pretty equalizing right off the bat. Black can play bishop b7, of course, and then the bishops can get traded, and you just get a pretty, I don't really want to say simplified, but you get a position that isn't really dangerous, and it's just kind of, I don't know, it's a little boring, and again, I think it's just unambitious for White. At the same time, because of that, I think the positions can often lead themselves to be pretty Josh with bishop d7. And so I played knight d7. So knight d7 is arguably Black's best try here for a win, or at least to not make the position so dry and to just have a bunch of trades and to go to a simple endgame. So it tries to get things a little bit imbalanced. And I was pleased when I played it, and my opponent didn't seem too thrilled to see it. I mean, I'm just speculating here, right? But just based on what I kind of saw from my opponent, he seemed slightly surprised that I played it, because it's not that common. I mean, it's not uncommon either, but the majority of people will play bishop d7. It's the main line, I believe. There's also knight c6 that can be played, but Black is giving White a tiny edge with that. So yeah, I played knight d7, and then he played c4. So damn, he continued with his annoying play. Now, I call it annoying because I don't like playing against the Maroczy bind in general. So c4 is effectively harmless, but it's just not a fun structure to play against. I never enjoy playing against it. So he kind of annoyed me twice with bishop b5 and then c4. I played a6 here. I wasn't sure. I was thinking maybe I go knight f6 here, and then a6 down the road, because the bishop isn't really harming me here. But I kind of wanted to pose him a question. I wanted to see, I mean, I'm sure he was going to go bishop a4, but I thought I would just ask him, like, because maybe he would take the knight, and then it's easier for me to figure out what to do after that. So I played a6. He did play bishop a4, and then I played e5. So e5, this locks in. Well, first of all, it locks in I'm reading my notes here. So this locks in a rigid pawn structure, which is very solid for black, but it's also pretty boring because you can get like this structure. I think this has a name. I think I've heard it had a name before, this pawn structure, but yeah, you kind of get this boring symmetrical structure, but it's very solid for black, as I say. And the reason I played it though is because my coach told me in a recent lesson about a knight maneuver. That's a very simple and basic plan for black, which is knight f6, knight d7, knight f8, knight e6 to knight d4. So it takes a long time to do, but these positions are usually pretty slow. So I just remembered that idea, and so it made me less scared to play this fixing position of e5. However, that's actually from a different setup, which I didn't realize until I analyzed the game like a week later. And I went back to watch the video of my lesson with Alessandro, and in that other position, black's other knight was on c6, not d7, and there was also there was not a pawn on e5. So it was different because I think there was like a fianchetto here, and it made more sense where black just wants to control d4 and be able to hop into it twice. But the point was, the reason I played e5 is because I knew that there were different ways to play around it. Even though I blocked my dark squared bishop, there's ways for the knight to get to d4, and yeah, okay. So he castled. I played knight gf6. He played knight c3. Bishop e7. d3, again, getting this very common structure here. Again, I think it has a name. If not, somebody should name it. And I castled. He played bishop d2. And then here I went knight e8. So continuing with the aforementioned plan, and also challenging white's knight on d5. If he puts a knight on d5, then I can challenge it with knight c7. So yeah, I just continued with my plan of knight e8, knight c7, knight e6, knight d4. Or I might have just kept it there on e6 for a while. But it would be better there than it is on f6, I felt. My opponent went knight d5. And I continued again with my plan, and I played knight c7. But knight c7 is actually a blunder. And I made it because I had my plan. And that's the one problem with having a plan in chess, because you can often get your blinders on. You have your plan, and then you have your blinders on, and you just want to continue with that plan, and you kind of forget what else has happened on the board. That's what happened here. So just blindly continuing with my plan was a blunder, and I had missed the threat of what my opponent he didn't play the best move here, but I missed this threat of bishop a5 in general, which is funny because there's not much I can do against that threat. And I just completely missed that. So my opponent did play bishop a5, but there was a much stronger move, so if he had played a different move, he would have won the exchange. With what he played, bishop a5, he ends up winning a pawn. So the best move here, if he had been a little bit more patient, is if he had played bishop takes d7, and then after bishop takes d7, I can't take with the queen, right? Because of knight b6 with a fork. So after I have to recapture with the bishop, then bishop a5. And it's just funny because I can't defend this knight, and he's just going to take it next move. Like the only way I can defend it was with rook c8. And then after knight takes c7, rook takes c7, I'm just down the exchange, right? So then bishop c7, queen queen c7. So just a very simple tactic that I missed because I had that plan of putting my knight on e6 or d4. But he did play bishop a5, and so here he wins a pawn instead of the exchange. So the only thing I can do here is block it. Otherwise, he's going to take on c7. So I played b6. And then he played bishop takes b6. But knight takes b6 would have been better because this would prevent black. Knight takes b6 would prevent black from getting the bishop pair. For example, knight takes b6, knight takes b6, bishop takes b6. So here, white retains both bishops. But what he did is he took with the bishop, and then I recaptured the bishop, and then knight takes b6. This is what happened in the game. But now I have the bishop pair, and he doesn't have a bishop pair. So yeah, he made a couple of inaccuracies there, but he won a pawn. So what's not to like? I played rook b8, protecting my rook. And he played knight takes c8, getting rid of my bishop pair. Queen takes c8. And then he played queen d2. And so around here, I was feeling a bit disgusted with myself for having missed just such a basic combination, right? Such a basic tactic. I was just annoyed because I mean my opponent's lower rated than me by a little bit, and I'm just behind a pawn. Now I was down a pawn, and losing this game would then put me at 1 out of 5, a score of 1 out of 5. At the same time, I actually, like, it didn't feel hopeless to me, even though I'm down a pawn and I love material. Because I had a semi-open, I had a semi-open file for my rook on the b file. And I also had a pawn break on f5. So I was down a pawn, but I thought I had some hope. I had a bit of play. And so I played f5 here, trying to open up the position and attack. But Stockfish 17 didn't like this. It prefers almost any other boring move. And I believe the reason is because, and it's kind of subtle, but it allows, well, first of all, anyone that's interested, yeah, you might want to pause the video and try to figure out why the computer doesn't like f5 or why f5 is not objectively great. And the reason that I think it doesn't like it is because it allows white to improve his bad bishop. This is a very bad bishop for white, and he can improve it by putting it on e4 because his central pawns are all in light squares, right? And so his bishop can't go to d5 because my knight covers it. But if he had played e takes f5, queen takes f5, and then he can play bishop c6. And black might just want to play king h8 to get it out of, well, eventually this is always looming. But pretty much after any move that black plays here, then bishop e4. And so suddenly white's bishop has transformed from a4 to e4, and it's much better on e4 than it is on a4. So I think that's the reason that the computer didn't like f5, and it makes total sense, but completely easy to miss. I mean, come on, right? But my opponent didn't take, and he played bishop c6 first, which is an inaccuracy. Computer preferred what I just showed you, because now I don't have to. Now I can prevent e takes f5. But I didn't. I took on e4 because I still didn't see this improvement of his bishop. I just didn't see the whole idea. So I played it at the time because I wanted to open up the f file. I thought I could maybe somehow attack and put some pressure on him. That was my plan. But again, it just improves his bishop. So instead, f4 would have offered many better chances for black to try to build something. So f4, and I think the computer said that white was just a hair bit better here. But yeah, this would have been my best chance, and then we can maybe just do some pawn storm and hope for something. So that would have been the better way for black to play, but I took on e4. And then he went d takes e4. So again, both my opponent and I just kept missing this idea, but bishop takes e4 was better. Yeah, because it's hard for me to even combat that bishop because I don't have an f pawn to attack it anymore. So he went d takes e4, and I went queen g4. He played h3, queen g6, and king h1. So here, I was still down a pawn, but I was starting to attack a bit. And the position was less symmetrical than it was, some more imbalances. Also at this point, I had 37 minutes left on my clock, and my opponent had just 21. So I had a decent time advantage, almost twice as much time as my opponent. So I didn't like the situation, having dropped the pawn, but I still had some hope that I could avoid a loss. Get a draw, possibly a win, but yeah, I was not hopeless here. I played king h. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but I played king h8. Just proactively and preemptively getting off of this diagonal that could pose a problem for my king down the road. For one thing, it allows me to move my knight. He played rook a b1. Looks like he wants to fire his pawns down the queen side. And here, I think I was considering, oh man, I've got a lot of notes. I'm just looking at all my notes on this game. There's a lot. A lot coming up. And I think I was considering sacking the exchange. So rook takes f3. But it was a bit unclear to me on how I would continue and if I had enough to make it work. So I didn't do that, but it turns out that it was actually the best move. And do I have some lines here? Yeah, so here's an example scenario. Rook takes f3, g takes, knight e6, rook g1, queen h5, and rook g3, defending the h-pawn, knight f4, bishop d7, protecting the h-pawn from behind, or from in front, I guess. And then after rook d8, bishop g4, queen h4 is supposed to be pretty equal, but it's also very unclear. Like, this is weird. It's a weird position. And so, I don't know, I don't think you can blame me for not wanting to go into these lines, because this was, it was unclear. And then I've just sacked the exchange, and I'm down a pawn. So I'm down the exchange and a pawn here. So it was very risky. So I don't think you can blame me for wanting to avoid that. And yeah, so instead I played knight e6. I wanted to bring in my pieces before I sacked the exchange, because now my knight is closer. And so now rook takes f3 is a serious threat, because I don't have to spend time bringing in my pieces. My knight is ready to jump right in there. And it's ready to go to either d4 or f4. And after calculating some nice combinations, which I think I showed, I'm not sure if I have them written here or not. But after I found a few good continuations here while I was waiting for my opponent to move, I kind of just shut my brain off for a while and just enjoyed having a nice attacking position here. But in doing so, in kind of letting myself to relax, I missed that white had many ways to deal with this threat. Yeah, so I don't actually have the lines, the example lines that I was going to show here. But, oh no, I do. Yeah, so for example, so here's a line that okay, so first of all, if he made a move like a3, preparing to just continue his attack on the queen side, then I can sack the exchange, and after g takes f3, queen h5. Note that knight f4 first doesn't work because now white's bishop can defend. So after rook g1, queen h5, bishop d7, again defending from in front. After knight takes h3, this is an important move to see. He has rook g3. And then after knight f4, discovered check, king g1, and this is equal. So that's if I play knight f4. So after g takes f3, queen h5 first is best. And then after king h2, defending his h-pawn, now knight g5, and we are going to win either f3 or we can take on h3. He can't defend both. So that was one example if he plays a move like a3. So there were a lot of like ways for white to go wrong there. But instead of that, he played knight e1. And I just forgot that he could just simply move the knight. I think he also could have played knight h2. But he could just move the knight away, and then suddenly all of his problems are gone. And I just didn't consider that. I thought, I don't know. I did just kind of shut my brain off, but I thought he had to play like rook g1 or king h2 or something. But he can just simply move the knight away. So after knight e1, my opponent went from 20 minutes down to 12 minutes after he made this move. So he spent a long time here because, yeah, I had a lot of threats. But I had a big time advantage now. And there was a lot for him to consider there. Yeah. Okay. So I played knight d4. So I'm attacking his bishop here. Yeah, I think this was the best move. Knight f4 looks great, but I think we just don't have anything after even just rook g1 probably. And then there's king h2 and g3 is coming. Yeah, so I went knight d4. He played bishop d5. And then I went bishop h4. Now this was interesting because, yeah, this was very interesting. So bishop g5 is the natural move here. But with rook takes f3, sacks no longer available, I was feeling a lot of pressure to make up for still being down a pawn. And so my idea behind bishop h4 was to provoke f3, weakening his dark squares around his king. And I could tell that my opponent was a bit surprised when I picked up the bishop and I moved it past this g5 square and I kept going, and then I landed on h4 because I could see him watching me and he was about to break down my move. But then I just kept going. I kept going to h4, and he seemed a little bit surprised. And then the benefit of this too is it helped me take a bit more time off his clock because he was expecting bishop g5. I'm sure of it. After I played bishop h4, he spent another 2 minutes trying to reevaluate what this was all about. And that's important because that brought his time from 12 minutes down to 10 minutes here. Now, that being said, the Stockfish did prefer bishop g5. So it prefers this exact line, which I'll show. Bishop g5, queen d1, queen h6, knight c2, knight takes c2, queen takes c2. And then this insane move, rook f3, which I would never see. G takes f3. So first of all, if king g1, this is supposed to be equal. And if G takes f3, queen takes f3 check, king g1, and then bishop f4, and black wins here. So that was, yeah, really key move. I'm going to try to keep my eyes open in the future for such a move, but yeah, I'll just show it again. So bishop, I'll just show that line again. So bishop g5, queen d1, queen h6, knight c2, knight c2, queen c2, rook f3. I have to, it makes sense, you know, because, sorry, my voice. It makes total sense because we were looking at sacking the exchange on f3. This can also often happen on c3 or c6 or f6. But instead of sacking the exchange, it's worth considering just putting the rook there because we can pry away his a pawn from defending his king while threatening to attack in other ways. So yeah, that was a very interesting line from the computer. But anyways, I played bishop h4 and he played knight c2. Note that if f3, again, I have bishop g5, queen d3, and then bishop f4, and I'm winning again because, again, his weak dark squares. So knight c2, I played bishop g5. He didn't play f3, which was what I was trying to provoke, so I just went back to attack his queen, so queen d3. And then I played rook f6, which was a mistake, apparently. I was simply just trying to double up on the f file, but Stockfish17 said it was a mistake because my bishop on g5 here can get entombed. Do I have a line showing that? Yeah, I do. So after knight takes d5, d4, e takes d4, g3, and so he's threatening to, or well, different ways to do it, but he's threatened to kind of kill my bishop here. I played, sorry, no, I didn't play this. This didn't happen in the game, but if I play h5 trying to give my bishop a square, yeah, he just plays f4, and all of a sudden my dark squared bishop is dead. Like it's useless, and well, white's just going to topple me over here. So that's what white should have done, and that's why rook f6 was not good. It just kind of trapped my bishop. But my opponent instead played a3. And at this point, my opponent had 10 minutes. I had 26. And when he played a3, I couldn't help it. I didn't really calculate it. It just looked too good. So I played rook b3, which was actually good. He played queen d1. And then I played knight takes c2, which the computer said was a mistake. Instead, apparently immediate aggression was required here. Or not required, but it was very strong here. So with this rook on the third rank, the computer wants to play rook takes h3. God, I sound like Gotham with that intonation there. But rook takes h3, g takes, rook f3, and we have enough to attack here. If rook g1, which is not the best defense, there is then queen h6. And if rook g3, also not the best defense, there's rook takes g3, f takes g3, queen takes h3 check, king g1, queen takes g3, and black is going to win. And if we just backtrack here a little bit and look at, so if instead of rook g1, if white played knight takes d4, then black has rook takes h3 check, king g2, which is equal. But there's many ways for black to proceed here, but a double rook sacrifice is actually probably the safest, or maybe not the safest, but it's the nicest. So rook h2, sacrificing our second rook, king takes h2, bishop f4 check, king h1, queen h6 check, king g2, queen g5 check, king f3, queen h5, and black forces a draw here because it's just going to be the king will go back, and it'll be a perpet there. So if I mean that's a mini moves in, but instead of knight takes c2 here, yeah, there was this rook h3. But yeah, I'm not an attacking player. So I played knight takes c2, and he played queen takes c2. This is gonna be a long video, man. It's because I got so many lines and variations and annotations in this game. Okay, so here I played rook b8, just bringing that rook back home. Yeah, because what else was I going to do? But actually, this was I don't know. Okay, I guess technically it's a mistake because there was a much better move, which was, again, rook b f3 again. Rook b f3. I give this a double exclam. I never considered the move. Who the hell would? But again, I should be more open to putting a rook there. It really offers a lot of opportunity. And so the point is, after rook b f3, if g takes f3, then queen h5, and black wins here because white has no defense. Black is going to take one of the two pawns and give checkmate. I won't go down that because you should kind of see how that must be winning. And if I go back, so if not g takes f3, so after rook b f3, if king h2, there is bishop f4 check, and if king h1, there's queen h6, which is winning. I won't go beyond that though. And if g3, there's rook takes g3, f takes g3, queen takes g3 check, king h1, queen takes h3 check, king g1, rook g3 check, winning. Next move, mate in 2 here. Or not quite, but we're going to win the queen, right? He can run here and he's going to get killed. So yeah, crazy that there's this rook b f3 move. Now, one last thing to look at. After rook b f3, if queen e2, there's queen h5, and this is apparently equal because now there's discoveries on his queen, and if the king moves, I guess yeah, still we can just take on h3 because then we have a lifeline back. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I played rook b8 like a human, and he played b4. C takes b4. And then I made a mistake here, which I should, yeah, this was definitely a mistake. I went rook takes, sorry, not me. White, yeah, played rook takes b4. So he should have went a takes b4 because he connects his pawns, right? He connects his pawns and then he can create a passed pawn much easier by doing that. So, but he took with the rook. I guess it makes, okay, I guess his move makes some sense because maybe he's thinking I will take and then he can still make a passed pawn. But I don't have to take it. That's the point. Yeah. So he went rook takes b4, and I did take, which was a mistake for what I just said, because he can still make a passed pawn here. So instead, what I should have done was played rook b f8 and not let him so easily make a passed pawn there. Plus, I start attacking his king side again. Do I have an example line? Yeah, so for example, if rook b f8, and let's say he plays rook b6, I have bishop e3 when I'm going to take either f2 or else his rook falls. And if instead, after rook b f8, if he plays rook a4, attacking my a pawn, we still have bishop e3. So anyways, I took on b4. And you know, by the way, just side note, something I'm terrified is because it takes a lot of work making these videos, and it's really tiring, hard in the throat, and I'm 35 minutes in here already. I'm always scared that something goes wrong with the recording, or I didn't hit record. This is my nightmare. I think it has happened maybe once in the past, but yeah. Okay. Anyways, back on track here. So after A takes B4, I made the key move of the game. The key move, this is the most important move. And so I had the same idea as what the computer showed there, but with the rooks doubled on the F file, it would have worked a little bit better. But my idea here was very it was kind of necessary, because at this point I'm just losing, or at least I felt I was, because I'm down a pawn here and he's about to make a passed pawn, and he has a very, very strong centralized bishop. So I don't have much going for me here. In fact, I don't have anything going for me, really. And so I had to play for tricks, which is not something I typically do, but what else am I going to do? I can't play this slowly. I just can't. He's just going to make a passed pawn. So I played bishop e3 here, with the same idea, again, of what I showed. And I had this idea earlier in the game, which I talked about. The idea is to provoke f3 to weaken the dark squares around his king. And I felt if he did play f3, that at worst I would have a draw here, and there was good chances I would actually win. Now I didn't think it would work. I didn't think he would play f3 because, well, why would he? Because that's just disaster. And he can't take the bishop because then, well, his rook falls, right? So why did I play it? Well, because again, what else? I was desperate. That's the word I was searching for. I was desperate because what else am I going to do? And it was worth the 1 in a million shot that he would fall for it. Yeah. So I played bishop e3, and he played f3. It worked. I couldn't believe it. I was, oh my God. Like when he played it, I was just like, I honestly don't remember exactly what I felt. Obviously I was happy, but I was probably more shocked than anything that it actually worked. Now, what should he have done? Anything else. He didn't have to do anything, because I'm not threatening anything here. I'm not even threatening to take on f2. So he could have literally just like played anything, like king h2, or just kept pushing his pawns. Yeah. So he didn't have to react to that. But yeah, he played f3, and I played queen g3. So I didn't play bishop f4, because then he can start to run, right? I want to cover this square with my bishop, the g1 square. So I played queen g3. And it was here that my opponent seemed to realize his blunder with f3. And then he went from 8 minutes down to 4 minutes after this move. So he probably, when I played bishop e3, he probably just thought, okay, I know I can't take the bishop, so I'll just play f3. But he just didn't recognize the weaknesses around his king, the dark squares. So yeah. So I played queen g3, and note that if I had played bishop f4, he actually has queen f2 covering g3. So I can't play queen g3 here to try to checkmate him. So I played queen g3, and then he played rook a1, which was actually another blunder. So necessary here was queen a4. Queen a4 and white's still in the game. If I played something like h6, then white has queen e8 check, king h7, bishop g8 check, king h8, bishop f7 check, king h7, bishop g6 checkmate. So we can't play h6. And if we play rook f8, which I think is the best move, then white can just go back to c2. And black doesn't have anything here. Now, the game would still have gone on, and I did have a time advantage here, but white would have been okay there. And after queen a4, if I had played h5, there's queen e8 check, king h7, queen takes h5 check, rook b6, queen g4 when I have to trade queens, and I'm just losing here. So yeah, I think after queen a4, I have to play rook f8. So that's what he had to have played there. It's not so easy to see though, and he was getting a bit low on the clock. So in the game, he played rook a1, and I played bishop f4, threatening checkmate. So he ran away from checkmate. I played queen h2 check, king f2, and I played rook g6, threatening everything. And he played rook g1. I played bishop e3 check. By the way, the rook g6 is the only winning move for black. So yeah, rook g6, rook g1, bishop e3 check. So a deflection away from his rook. King takes e3, queen takes g1 check, king d3, queen d4 check, and he resigned because he's getting, well, checkmated or losing the queen in a couple moves. So I won, but it was a bittersweet thing because it's pretty rare for me to win by swindling or by luck. Normally it's the other way around, but just the nature of the way I play, I'm not really an attacker and I'm not a risk taker. But here I had nothing to lose because I was on my way to losing, so I had to swindle my way to a win, and it worked. So that's why it's bittersweet. Yeah, so 100% I got lucky. There's no question about it. But since it's so rare that I do get lucky like this, like that I swindle a win, I'll take it. And I needed the win, so whatever it takes. So that was 2 wins in a row, and suddenly I was at 2 out of 5. Excuse me, in the premier section, which is respectable. And yeah, so I was feeling pretty good. But again, bittersweet because I was in trouble there. So yeah, so that was round 5, 2 wins in a row, 2 out of 5. I had one more round after this one for day 2, which I will post in a couple days from now. Hope you enjoyed this game. Yeah, stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. See you next time.